Men do desperate things for their survival and beliefs. All you can do is not get caught in the middle of it. Before cult horrors like Midsommar and The Ritual came into existence, The Wicker Man 1973 popularized the folklore fear. Now, imagine getting stuck on an island with a brainwashed population that demands human sacrifice. You get involved in this chaos to save the innocents, only to become the main target. Based on the novel Ritual by David Pinner, The Wicker Man is a chilling adventure that gives horror a folklore structure. Let's dive deep into this madness of a film. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you, and let's begin. The Wickedness of the Wicker Man. A dive into the plot. The film begins with Sergeant Neil Howie, who is a devoted Christian and an active member of the church. He receives an anonymous letter with a photograph regarding the disappearance of a young girl named Rowan Morrison. She lived on a remote Scottish island, Summerisle, that is owned by the family of a late Victorian agronomist. Howie leaves for the island on a seaplane. Upon landing near the harbor, he faces hesitation from the harbor master, who remarks that the island is private property. Howie asserts that he is a police officer and has the right to enter the island for his investigation. With much reluctance, Howie is rowed towards the island through a dinghy. He gets surrounded by a group of old men and shows them Rowan's photo, which he received with a letter. The men claim that they have never seen the girl on their island. When Howie inquires about Rowan's mother, Mae Morrison, they claim that the girl in the photo is not Mae's daughter. Howie is skeptical about their statements and continues toward the town. He arrives at the store Mae Morrison owns, which is filled with erotic cakes and sweets. Mae claims that she has never seen the girl in the picture and introduces him to her daughter Myrtle, who is busy drawing a hare. Both Mae and Myrtle deny the existence of Rowan, which frustrates Howie, and he walks out. He rents a room at Green Man Inn, where the owner, Alder McGregor, instructs his daughter Willow to show Howie to his room. Just as she arrives at the room, all the guests start singing sexually explicit songs for her, and she happily dances with them. Howie breaks the fun by banging on the table and informing everyone about his official business. He shows them Rowan's picture, and not even a single person knows the girl. He notices an empty spot among some pictures on the wall from the Harvesting Festival. Upon asking about the missing picture from last year, he finds that it has conveniently broken. Later, while having dinner, the supper is too bland for his taste, so he orders some apple cider, as the island is famous for apples, but Willow remarks that they didn't have any harvest this year. Howie goes for a walk, and as a Christian, he is horrified at seeing the townsfolk having an orgy out in the open. When he goes to bed, he hears Willow being offered a young boy as the father compliments that she is Aphrodite, the goddess of love. Howie has a hard time going to sleep with the sounds coming from her room that night. The next day, he visits the Summerisle school and notices several boys singing around the Mayday tree. When he gets closer, he overhears a class of girls as the teacher tells them the Mayday tree is a phallic symbol. He is shocked and disgusted that such things are being taught in the schools. He enters the class and asks the teacher, Miss Rose, and the girls about Rowan while showing her picture. The girls and the teacher deny any existence of the girl, but Howie notices an empty desk and asks to see the attendance register. Rose asks him to get Lord Summerisle's permission first, but Howie forces his way to see the register and finds out Rowan's name on it. Rose then walks out of the class to talk to him, revealing that they don't talk about Rowan because she doesn't exist. She's already dead, but they don't use the term dead in the town. They believe when a human life is over, the soul returns to nature. She informs him about the churchyard where Rowan was buried, remarking that the church had not been used as a religious place for years. Howie finds the dilapidated churchyard where a gravedigger shows him Rowan's unmarked grave. He notices the unholy ways that the graves are kept and creates a makeshift cross as a little sliver of God in the pagan graveyard. He stops by Mae Morrison's shop to talk about Rowan, but decides otherwise when he witnesses her curing Myrtle's cough by making her put a frog in her mouth to transfer the cough. He visits the registrar's office to find Rowan's death certificate, much to the officer's reluctance. There is no mention of her death, even in the death index register. The next visit is to the only photographer in town who took a picture of the annual Harvesting Festival. Howie asks him about the copy of last year's picture that the inn has broken, but learns that they don't keep any copies. To get permission to exhume Rowan's body for investigation, he decides to finally meet Lord Summerisle, the grandson of the Victorian agronomist who bought the island and found the settlement. Near the Lord's villa, Howie notices a group of naked young women dancing and singing as a ritual near the fire pit surrounded by the Celtic pillars. When he arrives in the living room of the Summerisle villa, he peeps at the ritual through the window and feels drawn towards them. Much to his surprise, Lord Summerisle is also in the room and has caught Howie in his act, but Howie is good at playing it cool. Lord Summerisle explains that the girls are celebrating parthenogenesis, where the child is born without sex, and they're naked because they do not want their clothes to catch fire. This draws the last straw for Howie as he gets enraged and bursts out at Lord Summerisle, remarking how they have fake religion, fake biology, brawling in the bars, indecency in public places, and corruption of young, and exclaims that they should be teaching the children about Christ, not all the sexual nonsense. Lord Summerisle calmly reminds Howie that his own religion, Christianity, believes in the birth of Christ, the Virgin Mary. He takes Howie on a walk to his garden and explains how his grandfather bought the island and strengthened agriculture using volcanic soil. His grandfather made people believe in the old gods with Celtic polytheism. He raised the upcoming generation with the same beliefs as pagans. Howie is appalled by these non-Christian beliefs and leaves the villa after getting permission to exhume Rowan's body. Much to his dismay, he finds the rotting carcass of a hare instead of Rowan in her grave. He storms to the villa and throws the carcass in the living room, where the Lord is busy singing with his lover, Miss Rose. Howie demands answers, but the couple casually jokes that Rowan used to love hares. Not getting any answers from them, Howie exclaims that he is going to report all the Lord's misconduct to the mainland office and will come back with an investigating team. Unbothered, Lord Summerisle expresses his disappointment that Howie won't be able to attend their May Day festival tomorrow and shows him out of the house. Howie picks the lock of the photographer's shop and finds photographs depicting the failure of last year's harvest and the missing photo from the inn where Rowan was the May Queen. That night, as he tries to go to sleep, he hears Willow calling out his name and he doesn't respond. She starts seductively singing and dancing for him in the next room. Howie faces his demons while listening to her as he hugs the wall and tries to control his urges. He manages to ignore Willow and goes to sleep. The next morning, Willow compliments him on his self-control and how he shares about his Christian righteousness as he is engaged to be married and saving himself for his wife. He visits the local library and reads a book on Celtic mythology that mentions pagan rituals for the May Day. People have a parade and participate in it as animals. There are three main characters, including a man-horse who charges at the girls during the parade, a man-woman who teases people, played by the Lord, and a man-fool who is the king for a day, and they are followed by 6 swordsmen. In old times, this was a ritual to impress the goddess of fields for a good harvest. In good harvesting days, they would offer produce and animals to the gods, but in the bad years they would sacrifice a human who could be the king himself or the town's beloved virgin who was kept hidden for months before the ceremony. Howie realizes that they are hiding Rowan so that they could sacrifice her in today's ceremony. He decides to return to the mainland to report this and return with the team. Much to his annoyance, his seaplane doesn't start, and he decides to save Rowan on his own. He tries to persuade Mae Morrison to help him find her daughter, but to no avail. He then searches every house in the town to look for Rowan, while the town folks prank him and make fun of him. Exhausted, he goes back to the inn to get some rest, where he overhears Willow and her father plotting to put him to sleep for a couple of days using some incense so that he won't be able to attend the ritual. Howie finds the incense and diffuses it before rushing downstairs. He knocks out Alder, who is getting dressed to play the character of the man-fool, and attends the ritual disguised as Alder and the man-fool. Soon the parade ends up at the seashore where Rowan is tied for the sacrifice. Howie rushes into action, unties Rowan, and runs off towards the cave, followed by the town folks. They manage to escape into an opening, only to meet the danger as the Lord waits there with several other people. Rowan rushes towards them, hugging the Lord and asking if she did alright. They compliment her on doing so great as she returns to her mother, Mae Morrison. Howie is bewildered at the sight, and the Lord explains that they all plotted this charade to get Howie to this spot. He is the perfect adult for sacrifice as he fits all the criteria. He came on his own will with the authority of the king, that is the Scottish government, he is a virgin, and he is not just disguised as the man-fool, but is literally the man the entire town fooled. The kids are a good sacrifice, but the right kind of adult is even better. Howie is going to be sacrificed for the prosperity of their crops, as he will reincarnate in the form of a good harvest. He is then forcefully dressed in a white gown as he tries to persuade them into sparing his life, but he is taken towards the cliff where the townsfolk wait for him. He is horrified at the sight of a Wicker Man statue that cages several other animals. Despite all his pleas, he is taken to the Wicker Man and caged inside it while the townsfolk sing a summer song. As the sun sets into golden light, the Wicker Man is blazed, and Howie accepts his fate with a prayer to Christ by singing a Christian hymn. The Wicker Man disintegrates with the screams of Howie and other innocent animals while the townsfolk gladly watch their successful sacrifice. Why the Wicker Man still burns bright. A look at its enduring relevance. Sacrifices of the Wicker Man have a debatable history, pointedly evidenced in Julius Caesar's commentary on the Gallic War. It talks about the Celtic rituals where the Druids of Gaul caged a number of people, animals, and produce in a wicker statue and sacrificed them to the goddess of crops. However, the sources are skeptical, as people at that time were eager to spread negative information about Celts due to their religious differences. The Wicker Man brought this practice into films and gave it a horrifying plot. Currently, Wicker Man is burnt without any sacrifice at neo-pagan festivals like the Burning Man. It is not just about a cat and mouse race investigation, it has a deeper meaning as it depicts the clash of different faiths. While a deeply Christian man like Howie struggles to see the indecency in the town and suppresses his disgust towards it throughout the film, the answer to his investigation lies in understanding the pagan belief he is so repulsed about. Howie's unwavering faith and Christian righteousness are what ended his life. If he had just given up on the temptations when Willow was seducing him, or if he had not been so bothered by the town's ways and so determined to find the girl, he would not have been the ideal fool for the sacrifice. The film still stays relevant because of the religious debates that still challenge and mold our beliefs. It subtly shows the frustration of a man who is not ready to accept a different belief, but is right in his heart and true to his faith as he goes against a society that follows what his religion forbids. It is a question of who is right. If you judge other religions on the basis of your rulebook, would the other religion be wrong for following its own beliefs even if it leads to the murder of innocents? It showcases how people lose all sense of individual morality in a community and follow what they have been told is right. More than the horror, it depicts the psychological molding of a human mind that makes us dangerous to ourselves and others in the name of religion. Put me out of mind forever. Why the Wicker Man is a must-see for horror fans. Having various ballads, the film almost seems like a horror musical with simple songs on complex matters. Instead of following the traditional ghostly pattern, it touches upon the psychological aspect of horror that stems from folklore, cultures, customs, and deadly rituals. Instead of talking about the danger that lies around us, it showcases the danger that lies inside all of us. It gives rise to the nail-biting frustration among the viewers where they see themselves as the stuck individual in the film, desperate to find a way out. The Wicker Man writes history in the horror genre with its intricate setting of an isolated cult-like community that fears no one. The simple-looking folks of a farming town unitedly manipulate an officer to the point that the strong-willed sergeant ends up becoming the most vulnerable of all. His unwavering faith diminishes as he begs for his life and is treated like a domestic animal. The audience also goes through the shock with Howie as he discovers he has been the fool all along. The remoteness of the town makes you feel confined even in an open field and raises a sense of suffocation as the audience sees Howie being caged and burnt alive. This is a much-watched tale of a religious man who loses to another religion, the masterpiece of the horror genre that gave way to more chilling and nail-biting films in the future.
No, Rowan, don't put it down! No!
The Wicker Man's Legacy, a new offering. The 2006 Wicker Man is the remake of the 1973 film with the same structure but certain changes in the plot. The 1973 one was a religious clash, the 2006 one became more of a gender-based conflict. In this one, the police officer, Edward Malice, gets a letter from his ex-fiancée Willow. Unbeknownst to him, Willow was pregnant with Edward's daughter when she left him 7 years ago, but she has now disappeared. He rushes to Willow's native island off Washington and finds a bizarre way of life. Here, women are the prime cult figures, while men are second-class workers. Their main occupation is beekeeping, and similar to the bee colony, there is matriarchy and sisterhood in this pagan town. Although the film contains less indecency and lacks intensity and suffocation, Edward experiences obstacles similar to Howie's while finding his daughter Rowan. In the end, Edward finds out that his own daughter and ex-fiancée fooled him into coming to this island as a sacrifice, as he is blood-related but a stranger to the island. The film looks more like a badly made parody of the original than a remake. It was poorly received by the audience as it lacked the tension that the 1973 Wicked Man created. It often feels more like comic relief than a folklore horror, and hence, the 1973 one remains the best of its kind.
Oh my God! Christ!
Marvelous verdict. With remarkable actors like Edward Woodward and Christopher Lee, who act as the symbol of Christianity and paganism belief in the film, and the unsettling direction of Robin Hardy, this film remains a classic occult horror in history. Despite not having the traditional horror elements, it is still considered one of the most disturbing films of all time. We hope that this video gave you an insight into the subtle genius of this film. Watch this masterpiece if you haven't already. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.